I feel like I want to bring back around because Ian and I started this conversation and then everybody joined and I kind of forgot about it. But I was trying to decipher Ian's first gamer tag. If we have, do you have like hints or something you can give us? Because I don't. Is it something we could guess, or do you just?
It's a.
I don't even know what it is.
Neither do
no
I.
one does. It's a. It's a name and then three numbers. The name is a character from Red versus Blue.
Ooh, all right. Sarge.
Yeah.
Aha! It's the only character I remember from Red versus Blue.
You remember the right one.
So it's a name and then how many numbers?
3.
3 numbers.
Yeah.
469.
Close.
420.
694.
No. Brian's the closest.
693.
Lower.
2.
692.
690.
I feel like we're playing that
690.
game.
It's close to the devil's number.
696. 664.
669.
Really close.
663.
Less close.
I don't fucking. God, we're guessing numbers right now.
I know. And you almost have all of them.
667.
Closer, but lower.
665.
Yeah.
Sarge
And then-
665.
And one time I was playing Halo 2 in Big Team Battle, and this guy got real pissed at me. So he sent me a recorded message on Xbox Live saying how, oh, you fucking tough guy with the, it's almost the devil's number, blah, blah, blah. I was in the military. I think I'm a big deal. I was like, the fuck's this guy talking about? He's just giving me all this shit. He assumed I was in the military because of the Sarge.
Just because of Sarge.
Yeah. And I'm like 13 or something. So if you heard my voice at any point, it's very clear I am not in the military.
Was that your first rage message
That
from
someone, directly sent to me, yeah.
Oh, the early days of Xbox.
I kept that one.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brian and Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is someone who is powered by red energy as an agent of chaos, if you will, Andy Stolz.
What's up, podcast people?
And next, he's here to eat dinner and talk about movies, and he's all out of dinner. Josh Zorch.
I wish that were true because I'm really hungry. Dinner will be coming at some point in the middle of this discussion.
And he's returned to streaming to scare up some rare achievements, Mike Bradley.
I mean, that's accurate. I mean, I can't say it better than you just did. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Give out the Twitch link.
Plug yourself.
It's rare achievements.
There you go.
I mean,
easy to remember.
Rare achievements.
Did you just tell someone to plug themselves?
Yes,
Pretty sure
I
that's an
did.
insult. Go
What?
plug yourself.
That's not the way it is intended.
That's kind of how I meant it.
I feel like that's like a way that Borat would misinterpret an insult and use it.
Why?
Was that in
Telling him
Borat
to
too?
plug?
I hope
It might
so.
be. And finally, returning from his honeymoon with his body pillow wife, Ian Leidick.
There you go, Astro Boy, on your fighting stage. Rocket high through the sky, fly adventures you will face. Astro Boy, bomb away onto your mission today. In the English version of Astro Boy, they added on that theme song to the original anime. The Japanese version didn't have it. The Japanese liked it so much, they added it back in when they re-aired it in Japan. That's your first Astro fact.
So this thing is, I can't tell if you just made that song up just now or if that's an actual thing that exists somewhere.
That is very real. Just search Astro Boy opening.
Okay. I will have to
I'm
do that.
impressed. Good start.
Astro Boy fact number 2 in Japan, it's called Mighty Atom.
Oh, okay. All right, so keep
Brian,
track.
I don't know what your outline says, but maybe you just want to throw the first like 10 minutes to Ian.
Believe me, I have very little in my outline, so I expect him to just take over at some point. So yeah, welcome to our 4th episode for Rewind Theater. If you're new here, Rewind Theater episodes are something we're trying to do here and there. They're more of an excuse for us to revisit some old comic book movies. I say quote unquote old, even though our last 2 movies were released 2 years ago and 6 months ago. So, take that with a grain of salt. The best part, the chosen movie for each episode is not decided by us. No, the decision-making power is left to the Wheel of Fate.
Wheel of Fate!
The wheel always features 4 one-off standalone movies and 2 franchises as possible selections. So when an option is taken off the board, we replace it with another from our large list of movies that we've compiled. So stick around to the end of the episode where we'll spin the wheel to see what we're watching next. Our movie for this episode is 2009's Astro Boy, which I'm not very familiar with the source material, so I feel like Ian will at some point just take over because I'm sure he knows a lot more about this than I do.
Astro Boy fact number 3. Some people consider it the original anime, which is false. Originally, there were many anime movies made before this, and there was actually a anime television series, just one, made before Astro Boy came out, which the creator of Astro Boy, which is Astro fact number 4, Osamu Tezuka, worked on.
So wait, is this an anime or a manga? Is there a difference? Because maybe this is my
Well,
ignorance.
Manga is printed, I think, and then
Yeah, it's a
anime
comic
is-
book. It's a Japanese comic book. He wrote it as a comic book, and then it became an anime a couple years into its run because it was so popular.
Okay.
And Astro fact number 5, one of the first anime to heavily lean into merchandising, which is why it got so popular because kids wanted to buy all the Astro merch they could.
So if I may ask, what is your total number of Astro facts? Do you even have a number, or are you just going?
I wasn't good. I didn't plan on numbering them until I started numbering them.
I'm just wondering if we're just like right at the tip of the iceberg, or if we're like at halfway there.
And
We'll see.
You're gonna lose track of your numbering if you didn't do it in advance.
I'm writing them down when I say them now.
All right, so the film we watched was directed by David Bowers, who also directed Flushed Away, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. The film features voices from Freddie Highmore, Nicolas Cage, Donald Sutherland, Nathan Lane, Kristen Bell, Eugene Levy, and a very, very brief narration by Charlize Theron. We'll start with you guys. Any guesses what the film's budget is?
30 million.
All right, we have 30 million.
36 million.
36.
37.
Fuck.
Kids.
25.
All right, who had 37 was the highest, correct?
Yeah.
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 All right, Josh was the
You're not gonna.
closest.
You better not say 3 numbers.
It was $65 million.
Okay.
Wow.
Any
Wow,
guesses
see that.
what the worldwide box office total for this movie is?
36.
What year was
More
it?
or less.
It's
09.
2009.
9.
Do you expect higher or lower than the budget?
36 million.
Low,
Because
lower
I
than the
know.
budget.
I'd say 52.
Worldwide, I will say higher.
Yeah,
but
that's
not
what I'm thinking.
much.
Worldwide is the thing there. U.S. would be lower, but
Far lower. But yeah, I'm gonna say
worldwide,
I'll say
09.
higher than 65, but
I'll-
not a whole lot.
I'll stick with 52.
Andy?
I'm going to guess 70.
Okay. Ian, you were what, 36?
Yeah.
And you said you knew that? Did you look that
Well,
up?
I know that because of what happened to the studio, which is Astro fact number 7.
Well,
Imaji Studios, based in Hong Kong, once again another Chinese production studio involved with these films, closed due to this movie not doing well. And they made the 2007 TMNT movie.
oh, I like that movie too.
Yeah. And this movie caused them to shut the
Oh.
studio down because of its financial failure.
Yeah, the number I saw in Box Office Mojo was a little bit higher than that. It said 39.9, so it was just under 40. So I'm
Yeah,
going to give them
but
that
that's-
extra $4 million just for the sake of argument. But yeah, it was
In your
not good.
faces, guys.
It was under 20 million for the US box office. And then it didn't even make, it just made just over 20 for international. So it did not do well. And maybe I'll just start with Andy. First time viewing or rewatch for you?
You know what? I was watching it and I'm like, I think this happens next, and I think I did watch it once before, but it was mostly forgettable because I'm like, yeah, and then this happens, and Jess is looking at me like, you've seen this before, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess maybe.
Did I?
Yeah, so it might have been one of those, it was on in the background sort of movies, like I had HBO on, and then this was on next, and I'm like, let's see what this is about. I'm not sure. So
Fair enough.
0.5.
Josh, rewatch or first watch?
Oh, definitely first time.
Okay. Mike?
First time.
Ian?
First time.
Okay. Yeah, first time for me as well. The reviews. So Rotten Tomatoes, critic score, 50%. Audience score, 50%. I think that's the first thing I've ever seen where the critics and audience agree.
And
For
it's
Rotten Tomatoes?
50-50 of all things. Like it's,
Yeah, right in the middle. Metacritic has Metascore of 53, user score 5.9. So they are also close, middle of the road.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about the scores or just talk about that as we're sort of talking about the movie? Do you, more or less, do you agree or disagree with the scores for the movie from Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic?
I will say I think it makes a lot of sense that the critics and audiences agreed.
But I mean, if it's 50-50 on the scores, I feel like they equally disagreed and agreed.
Ooh.
I guess we don't know if it's average or what's the median score.
With Rotten Tomatoes, it's just the number of people that went over, like said more than like average versus below average. I don't know how they do audience score. I think you just give it fresh or rotten.
I think what this one comes down to is going to be if you rate it as just a film or if you rate it as a kid's film.
Absolutely, yeah. It definitely it takes
kids'
two
films
different.
are always just more forgiving.
Well, you have to be. It's a kid's film. It's not, I mean, you don't have to be, but at the same time, it's not going to have,
You're looking at it through a
Complicated.
different lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different paradigm.
So before we get into what we did and didn't like, I will throw out the spoiler warning. So in case you have not seen Astro Boy and do not want spoiled for this movie, pause us now. Come back to us after checking out the movie. Hopefully, if you've kept up with what we're trying to do for the episodes and when we're watching movies, you've kept up with us and watched the movie when we said we were going to review it and stuff like that. So hopefully you're right in there with us. So spoiler warning to follow. Pause us if you don't want spoilers.
Spoiler! Spoiler! Something like that.
All right, so we are in spoiler territory. Everything's fair game. So let's start with... I feel like we should just start with Ian and just let him get whatever facts you want out of the way or, whatever. We're going to start with what you liked. And if the facts come out for that, then let it be. But whatever you liked for this movie, let us have it.
Okay, so first I do want to get in Astro fact number 8 before I get into that. This is not the first work of Osamu Tezuka that was made into a film. The first one was Kimba the White Lion, which Disney heads will know as the movie Disney stole to make Lion King.
Oh, I did not know that.
And Tezuka actually met Walt Disney before he stole his idea, and they were talking about making a Astro Boy cartoon in America.
Oh.
And then, they just stole Kimba the White Lion.
So I guess those talks kind of broke down after that then.
Yeah, they didn't go anywhere.
Well, did they, not really knowing that other property, since Lion King is basically what, Hamlet? Or
Yeah.
Macbeth. Is it Hamlet?
I think it's Macbeth, if I remember
Macbeth.
correctly.
Yeah. So is that other property kind of a
It's
version of
it's
Macbeth as
basically
well?
it's also Macbeth, but it actually has lions in it already, so that's why it's more egregious, I would say.
Gotcha.
And it's also like, as far as I can remember, aren't some of the names really similar too?
I think it's names and like just actual shots,
Yeah, like it's
Sky, I think the Skyfather thing was the big one people point out.
Mm-hmm. I would say I remember reading about it before and how egregiously stolen it was. So it's worth looking into if you're interested in seeing what they did there.
All right, Ian, hit us. What'd you like?
Okay, so
right.
when I don't remember his name, but when the big nose dude shows up, and I yelled out "Real Dad" because I have a previous history of Astro Boy, and in the original Astro Boy, when he abandons him, when Nick Cage abandons his son, this guy takes over as his new dad.
Well, not like
Okay.
Dr. Elephant or something like that? Or Elephant?
Yeah, but it's like with a Q. It's like Dr. Quinn's Elephant.
Yeah,
I
like-
always kept hearing elephant.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the way
it's
I
not
heard it.
though, but yeah, that's what I'm calling him, Big Nose.
To be
Then
fair,
I really
Nicolas
like-
Cage's character had a pretty big nose, too.
He did.
But
Just a
that wasn't his defining
different way.
characteristic.
True.
Oh, there was one point where Nick Cage was pretending to act when I was like, man, if he didn't have animated movies, he couldn't have afforded that castle. I thought that was really cool.
I have something about that wrote down.
They were when the first time when the big robot goes and not the big robot, when the Peacebringer, was it Peacebringer or Peacekeeper?
Peacekeeper, I think.
Keeper.
When the Peacekeeper, when they first put the red energy in it, and they're like, and it's going crazy and shit, and then the dude just pulls out an electrical plug and stabs it. I was like, that's pretty cool. You just stab it with the pointy end. I get that.
That's how science
Was there
works.
supposed to be like some of the blue energy going through that at
Yeah,
the time?
that was the blue energy stabby thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Electrical socket. Because these are just hooked up to electrical sockets.
right. And somehow it makes sense that the energy's flowing through the cords, even though it's all contained
Science.
within... Go ahead.
Science, bitch.
Can't mess with the
Then-
flow.
Then when he was holding his dead son's hat, because his son died right there, like not even 10 minutes in, I wrote down, I don't think Nick Cage thinks it was his fault. So the dad clearly is grieving and thinks it's his fault, but Nick Cage in his voice, I do not believe Nick Cage thought it was his fault that Toby died. And I like that bold action by Nick Cage to play this character differently and be like, that wasn't my fault. That dumbass kid came up here and snuck in. And then why was he on the wrong side of the glass, dumbass? So I agree with Nick Cage there. So then they kind of actually, again, back to Big Nose Doctor, and I was like, imagine like sitting on that face with that whole honker on there, just riding that face. That was a fun moment for me.
What the fuck?
This took a turn. This took a turn.
I was not expecting it to go that route.
Let's see. Oh, so I guess this is a neutral one. I was surprised that he was so excited about bringing his dead son back to life. He didn't even give him pants. But that was a weird choice.
See, that
And then
scene
this-
right there, actually, the no pants thing actually gave me a bit of like a recollection of like the Mega Man power up screen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it had that very like feel to it, and I think the fact that he, for whatever reason, like you said, didn't have pants, it like amplified that because it looked like Mega Man a bit.
Mm-hmm. And then I liked it that then when they're bringing his dead son back to life, because remember his son died 10 minutes into this film. He just picks up the blue energy with his bare hands. So we found out it's safe to touch. That's why we know it's clean energy, because we also found out earlier in the movie that this was a safer form of energy than nuclear energy, and we could have saved. We also find out during that part there's a whole below planet surface thing going on. That's important for later, kids. Don't forget that. Then I wrote this. This took 2 lines. I wrote perfect because Nick Cage created the perfect son. Then his son fell asleep, and I, of course, wrote down, do androids dream of electric sheep? And that really got me thinking for a while. I was thinking about a lot of Philip K. Dick there for a while.
That's,
Okay, this
that's
was
the
a
Blade Runner
negative-
reference, right?
That's the book Blade Runner's based
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Okay, this is a negative. I did like this. So once again, remember, Nick Cage does not think this is his fault. The dad in the movie thinks it's his fault. Nick Cage does not. So there was a point when they're doing this math shit, like, and then like then he gives him these books to read, and then he's like making all these flying machines that Da Vinci did, and his dad walks in and realizes, I brought my dead son back to life just so I could be disappointed in him. And that's when Nick Cage and the character re-intercepted into being the same person again. And I really enjoyed that moment in the movie where they were both not only realizing this isn't my fault, I don't like my dead son.
I like
I
how he's
like
taking
this-
like Nick Cage's mediocre voice acting and turning it into a positive here.
I really like this. So when Astro Boy wakes up the next day and he can hear the robots, which So there's certain robots you can and can't hear. I guess that's a negative. Like, you can hear the driving robot clearly. Everyone's talking to that dude. But the Windex bottle, that's fucking strange that I can hear that talk. Anyways, the Windex bottle tried to murder a child, and that was really cool. That was kick ass
God.
when he's like holding on and he's like, let's back me up so I don't fall out the window. And Windex bottle sprays him in the face and jumps off. I was like, hell yeah, fucking murder some children. But this is, I guess, a question for you guys. So they mentioned earlier on, I've been thinking about this when the dead child who's no longer dead is falling to the ground to die again. So they mentioned that the blue energy, because how clean it is, it can completely revitalize the surface and make it livable again. Or we could use that to bring back my dead son. Which is the correct answer?
He's not really wrong about any of this, I'll point out.
I'd also like to mention that the evil guy is also the one who's like, let's use this stuff instead of for good to get reelected. Let's use it for evil to scare people into reelecting me.
It was too on the nose message, speaking of big noses. And the correct answer to that question was make a Gundam.
Best of both worlds.
And then when he kicks, I like this part because once again, this is Nick Cage really bringing this character to life. And he says, I don't want this son anymore. And I was like, you didn't want your original son. You ignored the shit out of that one too. So that's when I was like, it's not his fault. I really liked when Pickle Nose, that's what I started calling him, I guess, in my notes. When the Pickle Nose doctor is like trying to give life advice to Astro Boy, like right when he walks in on his dad saying, I don't want this thing in the house anymore. Pickle Nose doctor is just like, you just got to go out there in the world and find yourself. He tells that to a 13-year-old boy who doesn't realize he's got like super robot powers. He just tells some kid, just go out there and live your fucking life.
Who also, that's not that harsh of a critique, because it's also at that time that like the kid barely understands that he died and only his like subconscious has been transplanted.
Yeah.
Like he's still in that early part of Bloodshot where he's not sure what's going on.
Wait, he hasn't gotten to the twist yet.
I feel like that was the difference between a 2-hour movie and an 1.5-hour movie.
So
they could have
then,
really expanded upon that.
when the evil Preza King is chasing him through the city, and they use the sticky quarter machine sticky hands to catch him,
Yeah.
and he gets them all caught up in a building, and he's like pulling away, and it doesn't look like it's gonna break. I wrote down, holy shit, they're about to cause a 9/11, because those were some big fucking buildings they were about to tear down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote down a 9/11 joke as a positive. Yeah, so right there, right after that, the one guy they blows up in his screen like emptied bowels. It's like they did a piss joke. So that was pretty funny. And some
did
kids
laugh at
wouldn't
that.
catch that.
I mean, I'll admit I laughed at that.
hmm Let's see. He loves a small child. Oh! Someone says they love that boy, and I was like, why does he love a small child? I thought that was weird. That's a positive, though, because this movie kicked ass, I guess.
Do you remember?
They mentioned
you remember-
mentioned touchdown, and I was like, yeah, they got football still. But go ahead, Josh.
Do you remember who made the "love children" comment? Because that could context could be important.
I think it was the evil Preza King. I love that child because he's showing off all these kick-ass abilities, I think. But I didn't really. It's where it falls in place here is in between the piss joke and the evil Preza King making a football joke. So it's a tough one.
So you might be right.
It's anyone's guess.
So then he falls down to the surface, and you get all the crazy robot garbage, which they alluded to in the beginning school scene. And that's when I realized, holy shit, this is just Wall-E plus Elysium, and that's pretty cool. Those are both solid movies. And then these kids show up and find him, and the one name is Korra, which then I wrote down Legend of Korra, which once again is another kick-ass TV show. So we're just kicking a lot of ass
It's
now.
like getting
So this is
peripheral
what-
points because it's some kind of associated with other things that's not actually.
But not
related.
really.
This other
It's just
thing
like-
that's not this is awesome, so
Yeah,
this
it's-
is awesome.
It's barely word association and just stream of conscious. It's not actually connected to the thing.
So then these kids show up, but then these other secret robots from the Robot Liberation Front show up and catch him. And that's what I wrote down. There's a lot of shit going on right now, and it was a little tough to follow at that point because the plot just started. We went from my dead child for a half hour to plot just moving and moving, and I liked that they decided to speed it up. It was weird because those robots reminded me a lot of the Monty Python skit with the Spanish Inquisition. Like, it reminded me a lot of the Spanish Inquisition. I enjoyed that. And I don't know if anyone else caught it. They had a Troitsky poster hanging up in the background of their base. But then they also had Rosie the Riveter. And I was like, so you have, like, one, like, super Russian communist writer hanging up back there, and then a sign of pure American capitalism during World War II. So that's when I realized these robots don't know what they're talking about. And that cleared up a lot of the plot for me when I was like, robots don't know what's going on. So then we got to... Does anyone know the name of that guy that lives with all the kids in a not
Nathan
weird way?
Lane.
Yeah,
I just
other
know
than
it's Nathan
Lane, I
Lane.
don't know.
Nathan Lane. I'm writing that down. So they get to Nathan Lane's house, and we don't know there's an adult yet, and there's these kids running around hitting golf balls and shit. And I was like, holy shit! Now we're in Lord of the Flies. I was like, this movie is connected to some properties. So then Lord of the Flies started, and then they made a joke about Nathan Lane. I like this one a lot because I think this really touched on like when this movie took place. He's like, I like robots like fat people love eating and women love shoes. And I was like, yeah, women love shoes. That's the only thing women like. That made a lot of sense to me about when does this movie take place and who wrote it. This was important. This was the one I told you guys in the Discord. This is when I realized I predicted something. So he's like talking to Cora and their relationship's starting to develop, and I wrote down, he's going to put it in Cora's butt. And I nailed that.
Where's the confirmation?
You'll get to that on page 3. Then they mentioned the robot games, and like before we all knew it was Gladiators, it was kind of heavily implied it was Gladiators. And I was like, holy shit, they just made Zoids. And I was like, that's also a really cool thing, because robots fighting, that's Zoids, as we all know.
Yeah, didn't she make someone mentions these robot games, and
Yeah.
doesn't Cora make a comment that she describes them like it's kind of Roman?
Yeah, Romanesque.
Romanesque. She says something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Gladiator games. This guy's gonna turn out to be horrible.
Josh, thank you for that. So that also points out some foreshadowing that Cora's from Megaopolis, because as we know, the other kids can't read, and yet she makes an ancient Roman reference. So therefore we know she's educated, and that's how we know she's not from the surface world. Thank you, Josh.
Possibly. I got a point on that later, but you go ahead.
So then they find the giant construction robot, and then he scans it, and I'm like, wait, why are we scanning it if the only thing you do to fix it is just give it some energy? Like, why did we bother scanning it if we could have just been like, boom, fixed him?
So you know the type and amount of energy it needs.
Gotta figure out where to
just
put that
boop.
energy.
Boop.
Apparently, you put it in her
Put it
butt.
in the energy thing. Or the butt.
Maybe you need to
That's also
find
where
the
you go.
energy thing,
Let's see. Oh, then there was the montage. I really enjoyed the cleaning the robot montage. That was really fun and cutesy. It reminded me a lot of Rocky. This is
And
it's,
so many other things that use that.
no, just Rocky. Just Rocky.
It's Rocky.
This, I guess, is a positive. I noticed when they were sitting on the car, he has fat fingers. I don't know if anyone else notices. Astro Boy has very big fingers, and I like that a lot.
I think it's the hands in general. I feel like his hands are oversized for his body.
Yeah,
He's got man hands.
I didn't know if I should go back and find out if he had those when he was not a dead robot child.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't look at that either. And
then when they were on the car flirting, I wrote down butt, because he's going to put it in her butt. Remember, I'll get to why I was right later.
Just as a check-in, what percentage of your notes are we through at this point?
I got like a page left, and this is just like the positive stuff. There's a lot less negatives.
So a page left. How much have we gone through already?
A page and a half.
Okay.
I was
Like,
saying,
we start making
he's going
60%,
chronologically.
we got
You can
40
kind of tell
left.
chronologically where we're at here.
I feel like we should start making predictions on what
Well,
Ian's rating
through-
is for this movie.
Through the story, yeah, but just in case he has many, many notes for a particular section of the movie, that might not be the best indicator. Just check it in. Just asking.
Well, I mean, if we predicted his score, you could always change it just to choose who was right or
Well, that's
make
true.
all of us wrong. You know.
So then
So,
they
continue.
So then they like fixed up the car and they tied him to that pole for the robot fights, remember? And they're revealing, it's Astro Boy's gonna fight all these other fucking things. And I was like, holy shit, now it's Star Wars. It's that scene where they tie up Anakin and make them do that fight in like the desert in that duel. So I was like, holy shit, Star Wars also kicks ass. So they were really referencing a lot of cool shit here. And then the Nathan Lang makes the mention of how that Astro Boy's from Megapolis. He thinks we're all a bunch of trailer park trash. And I was like, wait, do they even have trailers parks on this world? Because it seems like it's just filled with a bunch of fucking robot parts.
Maybe there's trailers underneath the
I guess
robot
it's
parts.
not a positive, but I read it.
Maybe they know about trailer parks from the past.
Well, see, remember, the kids can't read, so they don't know the past.
They could have been
Which
told
is why,
about
again,
the past.
that was foreshadowing that Cora made that Roman joke that Josh brought up.
Again, word of mouth and stories. You can be told things.
So, did you notice that Astro Boy's like, I don't want to fight these robots, and then like 10 seconds later he fights those robots? I thought that was
Yes.
really cool because that showed he's still just a kid and just will change his mind willy-nilly. I thought it really did a lot to bring back, this isn't a dead robot child, this is a dead robot child who's also human. What?
I'm just
And-
trying to follow the
Did you have
logic
something
there.
And yet extremely inconsistent. But yeah, I guess okay, sure, that tracks.
And then the robot Republican League or whatever, the Trotsky showed up again, and I was like, this movie has 3 Jar Jars. That's cool as shit. Because what did I need from Star Wars? 2 more Jar Jar Binks.
I feel like all of our reviews are going to be way off here. I feel like he's going to be way up there. We're going to be way at the bottom.
So next, this is the end of the robot fight. He tamed the mighty Zog, which was impressive. I didn't think anyone was going to be able to tame Zog, but he did it. I don't know if anyone else saw that coming.
I was shocked.
So then, I guess this is the negative. I want to bring it up. Did anyone know, was he running for president or mayor the whole time? I realized by the end it was mayor, like president, but for the longest time I was like, wait, this is a city, so mayor?
It was very ambiguous. It was never, it wasn't really stated. Just the whole time he just kept saying running for re-election is all he kept saying.
Oh, and then I really like this. So Astro Boy yelled to the kids to like run away in the flying car they had because they had flying cars, and he yells "Fly!" So I wrote down "Fly, you fools!" like Gandalf said in Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings kicks ass.
Or I'll even give you "Fly, fat ass, fly" from Mallrats.
With more rats, you're supposed to say "kick ass."
Sorry,
See,
I
that's a
missed
negative.
my line.
I really liked when the president he's now become the giant robot. He is now destroyer of worlds, Omega, and I wrote down, I am the city, when he yells, I am the city, because he starts taking the city. I really like to show how he thought about the citizens. He is the city. He is the system. Without him, there is nothing, and I thought that added a lot to his character at this point in the movie, which I thought was a bold maneuver in your climax to be adding more to the character, but I like that choice. So then while he's fighting, here comes the connection you guys were all waiting for. So while he's fighting the giant robot, Astro Boy turns around and shoots him with his butt guns. So I was right. Butt. The butt played a huge role in this. Astro Boy unloads his butt into this giant robot man.
I
So,
thought the correlation was with Korra. That's where I think I was getting confused.
Well, see, he's going to put his butt into her butt because he's got the big things thrusting out of his butt that shoot stuff into the giant robot. Well, because as you know from earlier, like, robots don't have genitalia, so now we know where he's putting in the butt. The things on his butt.
He's using the butt guns to put it in the butt. Like
Does that make it clear?
I guess it's better now.
making ass-to-ass sex possible for the first time ever.
Except for that one movie.
I mean that
They go ass to ass!
the Avatar blue cats do it by connecting their hair, so whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this was actually, I like this for continuity reasons. So they show the kids driving the flying car again, and the kid is sitting on a stack of pizza boxes, which as we know is the only food they eat. So I really like that callback to continuity. I was like, well, that was a great choice to put the pizza boxes on the seat to explain why he's able to reach the pedals and stuff. real good attention to detail you get from this studio. So next, I really enjoy this. So when the planet's crashing, but Astro Boy's holding it up, they give us that upskirt shot of the one lady, and I was like, yeah, women love shoes and showing their underwear to other people. Positive. Then I really like this. So Astro Boy dies again for like the 5th time in this movie after he defeats the other giant robot, and then Pickle Dick Doctor shows up to be like, oh no, Astro Boy. And he's like, he's got more humanity than most of us. And I was like, oh my god, now they're doing King Kong. Humans are the real monsters, and King Kong sucks ass. And this movie's not that good now.
Took a very big left turn there.
I'm not taking the
I
bait.
also was also confused because they reestablished that the Windex can't talk to other people, but Zog can talk. Zog was able to talk this whole time. Why? Because Zog kicks ass. Moving on, I really like the Korra had parents and we found out who they were and their whole story at the end. That's the end of my
kind of like
positive
Rey
notes.
in Star Wars, right?
No, her parents were good people. And she had 2 of them. And neither of them were murdered. Neither of them had mystic space powers.
I was just
And
giving you
none of
another
them-
correlation, man, and you didn't take it.
I like the correlation. That was funny. That's the end of my positive notes.
Oh dear Lord.
Welcome to hour 3 of the podcast.
I don't even know where. Any volunteers to go next for what you liked?
Jesus, how do you follow that up?
Yeah,
That's why I'm letting you. If you want to jump on it, it's all you.
I'll go quickly.
Jump on it like
because
jump on his
he
nose.
covered pretty much the entire movie there.
Do you agree or disagree with any of the stuff that he liked?
If we're getting into likes, most of what I wrote down are criticisms. Because I mean, likes I can generally just kind of roll with. The characters are likable. The kids, I mean, that he meets down in Trashland. Because I'm not going to call it anything else. It's Trashland. They're likable. They're relatable. His powers were kind of cool, but not really. Didn't make a lot of sense.
What it didn't make sense.
I mean, is he a transformer or like I
They
mean,
never transform, so no.
Where did the butt guns come from? They transformed directly out of his ass.
No, the shielded portion of his butt slid aside, and then guns protruded out of it. That's not transforming.
So you're saying
That's a normal Gundam thing. That's a thing Gundams do.
So you're saying,
but not with their ass.
But so you're saying his dad, when he designed him, was like, "What does my child need?" Butt guns.
He said
guns.
all of the best defenses. And in Nick Cage's mind, that is butt guns because Nick Cage loves his dead robot son for a good 5 minutes.
Not wrong about that part.
And all of that is in the designing portion of this robot son.
Having said that, the voice cast is an impressive cast, even if I wasn't necessarily impressed by their performances in some cases.
Agreed.
And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and just put this in there as kind of a positive. Okay? Because it's fucked up that this isn't a movie for kids. But their portrayal of how people... In the beginning of the movie, I knew nothing about this coming in. I already knew the robots were the good beings. Like, they were the heroes of this. Very early on, because... Well, let's face it, these are sentient robots that we're dealing with here. We find out pretty early on. They're sentient. They're not just a standard, servant bot that is not self-aware in any way. They're self-aware. Which lends to the question first, it seems like everybody is kind of shitty to robots everywhere. They're horrible to them. But it's portrayed so well by the servant bot to Astro Boy. I can't remember his actual name.
Eugene Levy?
Yeah, yes.
Is it like Orn or something like Orn?
Eugene Levy's character, that robot. Its mannerisms and how it's handled, it's clearly fucking abused.
Yeah.
Like, it is an abused being, which it leads to realize that, the people that live in that city up there and then when you get down to the base part of the planet, They're all abusing robots. The people up in the
No
city
one,
are just
no adult in the movie isn't an abuser except for Pickle Dick and the other guy running against the Present King.
Yeah.
Like, his dad abuses him and the robot. The Present King abuses his powers and everyone around him.
And all the robots.
And the other dude literally has child slave labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's abusing robots. Like, he's building them to fight. Like,
He's building them to die.
Yeah. And these are
He's
self-aware
bringing someone
beings.
back to life to kill again.
But what I was getting at is how well represented their fear of humans is. And that's actually really well done for a children's movie.
Yeah.
Because it's represented very realistically in the way that robot acts. It acts like a beaten dog. And I think that's very well done, even if it's, like I said, fucked up to have in a children's movie something that reacting that realistically to it.
Yeah.
Good point.
Everything else is negative that you have?
I'm just looking through real quick.
What about the explosions? Because I think those kick some ass.
There was a lot of explosions. When he's flying around, when he first learns that he can fly, he definitely makes a poop in the clouds. Like, he flies around and creates, like, the poop emoji, basically, in the clouds. And I also...
See, that was the one time I was like, oh, ice cream. Like, isn't the poop emoji supposed to be like chocolate ice cream? I saw ice cream in the cloud. You went straight to poop.
I mean, it's the poop emoji. That's what he made. Like,
I mean, I see the correlation now, but, like, it's funny that my mind was like, oh, ice cream.
And I'm
you
the
just
fat
went,
guy.
Shit.
Let's be clear here. But the only other positive note I have is that I really liked Ham Egg's name. That was the Nathan Lane character. You asked about that earlier. His name is Ham Egg.
That was a good name, now that I'm
Hamegg. I
remembering.
like the name.
Especially because he had no ham or eggs on his pizza.
And he wasn't green. You know, like
No.
they could have just thrown the Dr. Seuss reference in, but it's still just a fun name.
Andy, stuff you liked.
Overall, I thought, like, if you didn't look too hard into the plot and intricacies that have been brought to light before I've begun talking, that it was generally a fun movie.
Yeah.
It had a lot of, I thought, adult sort of themes to it. Which I enjoyed being an adult, but I can see how it wouldn't be good for little ones. And I think overall, like, the arc of the story, it had a good timing meter. It had good meter. Like, there was always something going there.
Pacing.
Yeah, sure, whatever you want to call it. And then I know people have gotten on the voice acting, but I really thought Bill Nighy did an excellent job in this movie.
Yeah.
He was Big Nose Doctor. Just every time he talked, I wanted him to talk more because I thought he was just phenomenal in it. And, you know, Nick Cage wasn't bad, and Freddie Harmer was like, okay, whatever, and Kristen Bell was all right. But, man, just every time that short Big Nose Doctor talked, I was like, oh, man, he needs to talk
Isn't
more.
that always the case with
His
Bill
voice is
Nye,
just-
though? Like, anytime that guy's voice acting anything, you're just like, he can just keep talking forever, which is why everybody wants him to voice act things. He's
Right.
just so interesting to listen to, just because he just has such a unique flair that he puts into things.
Anything else, Andy? Any other specifics?
I don't think specifically anything else, no.
Okay. Josh, spin to you.
Sure. So I don't have a ton written down in general. It's only like, I think, 11 little bullet points at all. Some of the, like, a lot of my stuff I don't really categorize into necessarily positive or negative. It's just thoughts. I can try to find ones that might be more direct positive comments. Okay, I guess I'd have to skip ahead to the Lord of the Flies reveal that Ian mentioned. I wrote down, I like the Neverland Clubhouse.
That's what I.
Yeah,
that's
I started
how
getting.
I went hooked.
Yeah, Lost Boys type of reference.
Yeah.
I went much darker.
Yeah. I said it reminds me of the do anything Teenage Riff Raff Club from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Does that make Nathan Lane's character Shredder?
Or Tasu, one of the two.
Oh, true. Yeah. Okay.
I guess probably more like Shredder in a way. That yeah, he's more like the gathering like godfather of the group.
Yeah.
I appreciated the use of the Supergrass song during the clean the robot montage. It kind of fit the mood and the context. I was like, all right, that's always a fun song to hear. I'm just gonna say this one now because I want to. It's again, it's just like a neutral comment, but I liked the thought. I said, trash can is an appropriate name for a trash can made to look like a dog. It's also a lazy name for that thing.
Yeah.
But it's also an awesome name for a real dog.
It kind of threw me off because I thought it was a crock pot at first.
If it had been, but they still called it trash can, I would have been okay with that.
That'd have been double cool.
Oh, okay. I did have like a giddy moment at some point. I actually kind of liked some of the more like comic relief characters, like the revolutionary robots and the squeegee and the spray bottle and whatnot. I think it was during the second scene you get with squeegee and spray bottle later on, like towards the end, like in the third act. I said they reminded me something about the way they were talking for some reason. The banter style reminded me of Ducky and Bunny from Toy Story 4.
For whatever reason, I kept thinking that the spray bottle was Keegan-Michael Key.
Right?
Like it sounded a little bit like that. It's not him, but if you've looked up the voice actor, I think it kind of makes sense why I think it was him.
Oh yeah, it's David Alan Grier.
Yeah.
And the squeegee is Alan Tudyk.
That I felt like by the end of the movie, I was like, that's got to be Alan Tudyk.
Those two together, like I don't know if that was one of those things. Like it's rare in voice recording that these performers are like in a room with anybody else. It's like them and the sound engineers, the directors and whatnot. Like they're not doing this live together. If the two of them recorded like that exchange specifically separately, I would like that's a really well done performance and that's really good editing because that felt really natural, really fluid. I wouldn't be surprised if they had, done that together because it felt like there was a bit of improv perhaps worked into that and whatnot, but it felt very natural. Like I said, it reminded me of Key and Peele's take on Ducky and Bunny. I really wanted like all of a sudden for them to say they're going to implement the plush rush in the plan. I wanted to see that again. I said in the end, it was nice to see a presidential figure near election time who had abused power get arrested.
Topical.
Those are my direct positive comments. And they said the others aren't really negative per se because it wasn't like I didn't like this about this and whatnot. I think I'm on board with some of the comments about the voice performances. They seemed uninspired.
Yeah.
But others were well done. Like Bill Nighy, definitely give him that. Others were just like, okay, we went in the booth, we did our job. The others are just kind of like thoughts that I had. I don't know when we want to hit those, if that's like afterward.
Yeah, we can spin back around to those.
Sure.
Brett, Mike, I was looking at the voice cast. I don't know if you looked at the cast at all, but the voice of Trash Can, apparently, D. Bradley Baker.
That's interesting. Unexpected.
So that was, kind of random. Was
there even really it just made sounds, right?
It just barked.
Yeah.
So they hired the voice of the clones in the Clone Wars to just bark like a dog for a robot trash can. Seems like a wasted talent. Yeah, so I mean stuff that I like. I thought the voice cast was fine. I thought Freddie Highmore did good. Bill Nighy obviously was really good. Kristen Bell I thought was fine. Nick Cage I think was the one for me that was obviously like phoning it in. I felt that way about Donald Sutherland as well. He had moments, but yeah, I guess for the most part, I'd say that too. Just kind of deadpan. I even for 10 years ago, I thought the animation looked good. I was fine with the way the style looked and that tone, the way they framed everything like that. I thought that looked cool. But hands down for me, the best part of the movie is the robot revolutionary front. Those 3 characters, every time they showed up, I was like, yes, more of you, please, just keep going. The minute
More
they
of
just
this,
popped on
less of
screen and
everything
just
else.
they just came, like flew across the screen, picked him up and threw him in threw him in their room and started talking to him. And immediately I'm like, yep, you're my favorite people. I am on board with whatever you're going to do. And I guess another thing from the voice cast, the leader of that group, Mr. Mustachio, is Ryan Stiles from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh,
And he also I looked at the cast like later on. I was about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I saw that he plays or wait, am I wrong? Maybe I was wrong about who that was. So he's credited as Mr. Mustachio and Burning Robot.
Yes.
Burning Robot's the one when he first lands on the trash heap.
Literally
Mhm.
just a robot running around in the
Yeah.
background like, I'm on fire.
Okay. So I misunderstood. I thought when it said Mr. Mustachio, I thought that was Astro's teacher, like the physics teacher up on the
Oh,
city.
maybe I have it wrong then.
Well, no,
I thought that was the revolutionary guy, the
you
main
absolutely could be
revolutionary
right.
guy.
I no, that makes more sense because I realized afterward that I'm like, oh, I really liked that teacher character. Wait, that was Ryan Stiles? I wanted more Ryan Stiles. But no, I think you're right, and that's probably why one of the reasons I enjoyed that trio so much.
So another thing that I don't think was, I apparently completely missed, but the voice of Zog is Samuel L. Jackson.
Sammy Jackson. Yeah.
I did not get that at all listening to him.
I mean, he doesn't really say much. Like it's all distorted, kind of for
Right.
So
It's just funny, like some of the names that they grabbed for this for such minuscule roles.
that's why it had a budget that was so high, is because they went and got Samuel L. Jackson to do that.
Yeah.
I could have
Yeah,
done
that
that.
could have been
Anybody
anybody.
could have done. They could have done it with nothing. They could have just had
Yeah.
like a Might-Eye soundboard do it.
Yeah, that's kind of the positives for me. I agree mostly with, I feel like the ratings on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. This is very much middle of the road for me. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's a fine movie to put on and watch, but it's not one that I'm going to remember. So it's just, flat right in the middle. I'm afraid to ask, Ian, but we're gonna spin back around to you. Let's go through all your dislikes.
So you brought it up again with the robot trio. That reminded me. They did that Pulp Fiction reference, which I really liked. So that's one more positive.
Fair enough.
I really enjoyed that. Okay. The first negative was the teachers explaining how society works, and I'm like, wait, you can build these 10,000 robots a day, but you can't recycle any of them? There's
Oh,
nothing in place for that? But that gets into the whole, well, we had to make a really shitty Earth world to make Astro Boy the hero. Like, if it's a normal Earth world, then what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So they kind of ham-fisted that. I like Nick Cage a lot better when I can see his face. Like a lot more. I was upset because even though Nick Cage maybe is not giving his best performance, it would have been way better if he's got his facial expressions happening. Because he was acting the shit out of his face recording those lines.
I'm kind of curious. Yeah, we should all look up the behind the scenes voice recording for this movie and see what it looks like.
I didn't like, so when they go to get the power, Pickle Dick Nose is he's in the middle of a lecture. They just take it while he's in a lecture. Like, you couldn't time that at any other point in the day?
I also thought it was strange that he just happened to have them accessible in his classroom and decides, like, these are very important and potentially really dangerous. Let me just exhibit them in the middle of my lecture.
Like,
It's
they
show and
can't
tell.
touch, but they're not even 6 feet apart. It's fucking weird. So then again, with the energy, no one wants to use the red one because it's evil, and you don't put evil in something that monstrositous. Just again, Nick Cage had a great line delivery there with it. Watch the movie and see that. It just nailed it. So the Present King just shows up and is like, I'll fucking do it. So they have like a robot inserted. So that's why I thought you couldn't touch it, but then we later on find out you can just touch it and pick it up, which I thought was weird. I'm like, well, why didn't we just pick it up and put it in the first place? Let's see. Oh, so they're doing the math thing when he brings his dead son back to life, and he's like, "Oh, let's do your favorite fucking thing, 4D physics." And I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll pretend that's a thing." And he's like, "Oh, like solving this math problem." Nick Cage's like, "Oh, that's an interesting solution." I'm like, "No, it's math. There's one solution. There's one right answer. It's not interesting. It's just right." So that actually upset me a lot. Okay, this page is mostly positives. Actually, this is all positive because the only negative I had, I already said in the positive part. That's my negatives.
Well, that was a lot less than I expected.
Yeah.
Mike, we'll spin around to you.
Negative wise, I mean, Nick Cage, again, like we said a couple times, phoned it in, and it just kind of made me sad. But he doesn't do a lot of voice acting, I don't think. So there's probably a good reason for that. Maybe he's not quite as good doing that, obviously.
I don't know. 10 years later, he's pretty awesome in Spider-Verse.
Was he, though?
I thought it fit. Maybe that character just fit more.
I'd feel like he was just talking in that, and it fit the character very well.
I know, and it worked better for some reason. I don't know.
He also doesn't have a lot, like the volume of lines he has in that movie is very low.
Well, true.
Yes. I whatever the case, I feel like a lot of my negatives come from the beginning, where it's like, why the fuck do they treat these poor robots so horribly? Like, it's fucking horrible. These people that are up in that city don't deserve to be saved. They just dump all their fucking trash on the surface world.
It's because it's an allegory for slavery.
No, I get it. It's just the people up there are fucking horrible. I mean, at the beginning, they literally put robots in a syringe and shoot them into somebody's ass. These are sentient beings that they're shooting into somebody's ass.
You're really hung up on this butt stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally hung up on
Mike,
the butt stuff.
you're hung up on it.
You're correct. It's really bothersome that the characters I'm supposed to like are so abusive of the robots. You know what I mean? They want you to like, Astro Boy and his dad and all that stuff. They want them to be kind of the heroes and all that, but they're so abusive that at one point, like I think I wrote down, like, in the very beginning when he reprograms the robot's thing to make it take him to the science place, let's call it. I'm like,
Ministry of Science.
I'm like, that robot is going to get, like, abused to hell and back for taking him there when he shouldn't have. And then next thing we know, yep, there it is. The robot's beating its head against the wall because it's just so shamed at what it did.
I mean, we're not supposed to like Nick Cage, though.
By the end you are, though, aren't you?
No, we're supposed to be like, okay, maybe we'll give him a chance for not giving up on his dead son for the 5th time.
Okay, well, all the same, his dead son that he brings back, they show him with a single hair. A single hair bring back all the memories of this child. What the fuck is that?
This is something
That's Assassin's Creed.
Actually, Jess and I sort of talked about. She's like, how did she get all those memories from just the hair? And I thought of it more of like, these are memories that he captured throughout, like, living with the kid, like pictures and movies that they had done. To me, like, he had them loaded up into the thing, not
or the memory bed just downloaded every night.
Yeah.
I don't know, the way they ordered that and the way they shot that, it seemed to me like, here's this hair, and now he has memories.
I mean, hair comes out of your head has your brain has your memories. It all makes sense.
Yeah, science.
It makes as much sense as Assassin's Creed.
I'm not going to get into how Assassin's Creed doesn't make sense at this time, because that's a whole other thing.
DNA.
Moving on from there, they go down and they meet Ham Egg and his kids and all that. And they're eating, trash pizza, right? Is essentially what it is.
3-day-old pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's less healthy than not eating it at all.
They make that joke.
Yeah, I get that. But I wrote that down before
They made that joke, Mike.
But it's still just like, come on.
They were trying to establish they were poor, Mike. That they needed the robot to win the robot battle so they wouldn't be poor, Mike. They're poor, Mike.
Okay. Anyways,
Why do you hate poor people?
it multiple times.
What do you hate poor people and like butts?
It multiple times I make note that he must be Robot Jesus. Because he's just kind of like, oh, I will give you life. And he brings back the other robot. And then at the end, he's dead. But they're like, oh, we'll give you life back. And they resurrect him. And I don't know. To me, it was very Robot Jesus. So when he's pushing the city back up, he's like trying to slow it down. He's not centered at all. He would have just tipped it over.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near the fucking center.
Physics don't check out in this movie a lot.
Maybe
no
he
sense.
knows how the what application of pressure at the point where he's at is needed to keep it level and steady and bring
I'm
it
pretty
in for a
sure
landing.
physics would say that it's falling level and steady already.
Hold up,
It
Mike,
is
are you
cons-
thinking of physics or 4D physics? Because remember, this kid is 100% in 4D physics.
With very interesting
My brain's
approaches
already
and
broken on
solutions.
Remember, he made a thing dance while doing 4D physics.
All the same, any pressure that's not directly centered on that is going to turn it topsy-turvy one way or the other. If it's falling nice and level as it is. Doesn't matter where you put the pressure, unless it's dead center, it's going over from the pressure you're putting on it. You're
Well,
changing...
Wasn't that I would agree with you, but wasn't that the problem? Wasn't one end of it already
all-
tipping?
I thought it was falling straight down.
I thought it was going straight down too.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm.
He
I'm
just
either
slowed it down. He
misremembering or
didn't, like,
misunderstood.
Level it out or anything. He just slowed it so that it didn't like destroy the planet. Basically,
Got it,
I mean, it
got
was
it.
Age of Ultron, just in a different way, just a different solution.
Yeah, for some
let
reason
it
I
fall,
thought
but
like
slow
in like
it
a
down.
middle axis it had like one side of it had tipped closer as it was descending, so I thought he was pushing that end up to keep it. Like I said, like, his action was keeping it level, but I apparently F me, I'm wrong.
I mean, I'd also say, did Age of Ultron get their idea for that from this movie? I don't know. I don't want to know.
I hope.
Would have been
That
6
or
years prior.
Atlas.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it definitely came before. What the fuck is his haircut?
It reminded me of the
Cowlick?
Rocketeer.
I just called it the wonky
Oh.
taco because I couldn't come up with anything better to call it. It's not a cowlick because it's like off to this side and then the opposite back corner it has like the same shape and it's like what is this? It's very intentional and it seems like it's very strongly gelled to look like that and I'm like,
To me, I just attributed that to that's how the character was drawn. They just translated that for the movie. There's no explanation. That's just to
Yeah,
look
it's
like the
Decades,
comic.
decades
That's
ago
how he's always
established.
looked. That's
Yeah,
how he looked in the 1950s.
I understand that, but it doesn't change that the haircut's bad. Like
It's not bad. It's pretty kick-ass. He has maybe the best haircut in the movie. You're
he's the
thinking
only
about
one
it
that I
now.
can
Now,
recall.
yeah, now you're starting to think of like all the other haircuts around.
Yeah, he's the only haircut that I remember anything about.
Yeah,
But
you remember Cora's.
it's just a standard like haircut though with colors. It's not.
But you remember it.
No, but I'm saying like the hair color's different than the haircut. Her haircut's very standard, very like not any different.
Well, I forget, is before he's I don't even know, this is kind of on my points, before he gets like vaporized, immaterialized,
Whatever you want to call it.
discontinued, like whatever you want to describe his accident. Do we ever actually see do we ever see Toby without his hat on?
I mean, he's in school without the hat, right?
Yeah.
Like in class.
He probably is. Okay. Yeah.
What I don't remember is if it's the same exact haircut.
That's what I was trying to get to. Yeah, and I
It
can't
is.
remember either.
It-
It-
yeah,
It is because
Is it
as soon as
fairly
he
similar?
showed up, I was like, "Hell yeah, it's Astro Boy." Then I realized, oh, he's not a dead son yet.
He's not a dead robot son.
Beyond that, I've got two other negative notes. So the president guy, he loses. He's defeated. And his response is, nuts. All that about how you have to fucking win an election that you've told us about 30 million fucking times in this movie, and your reaction to when you are finally ultimately defeated is, nuts.
But that's not when he's ultimately defeated, because he doesn't know that's the end. Because remember, he pops up out of the ground and tries to kill all those citizens,
Which makes
in
it
his
make
human
even less
form.
sense.
And then remember, he still, I got an election to win. He hasn't given up on winning this election as he's being carried away.
Right, but
He thinks he still has a chance. He's a fighter. He's a fighter. He's fought before. He's been in the robot. He's not going down without a fight.
His
Yeah,
opponent can't say that he knows what it's like to be in a robot. That's a very unique experience that he now has.
And also, his opponent's apparently been hiding in a basement this whole time. We hear nothing of his opponent this whole time. We see one billboard.
basically everybody except kids and robots in this world fucking sucks.
And that guy.
Well, yeah, the guy that we see nothing of. The guy that literally we
The
know
guy
nothing
has
about.
a billboard that says peace and prosperity.
But let me tell you about peace and prosperity, because for them, peace and prosperity means dumping the fucking trash robots down onto the surface world. So he's still a fucking asshole.
But we don't know that. That could be a policy of the current present king.
Well,
I feel like it's been a policy for a long time with the amount of robots
but-
on the ground.
Well, we don't know if there's term limits.
Well, the strange part about the setup of that story, and I don't know if this also, if any of that is, if the element of like a ruined world and an elevated city and a city that dumps its garbage to that world it ruined is part of any of the source material from the originals and all that, but it felt weird to create a society which had to invent a way to make a floating city, where in the epilogue itself, they tell us the reason they had to do that is because they ruined the planet.
All you got to do is get
And
up
yet
off
you're
the surface
still
and you're
just
good.
wrecking the planet.
Well, I
that
mean,
you
they're
had to
not wrecking
escape
their
from.
own city now. See, like that's why they elevated it, because now they just have a place to dump everything. And
Right,
if
but
you-
the lack
if
of
you're
perspective,
within
the
the
lack of
ozone
hindsight.
layer, but you're not on the ground, the planet being dead doesn't affect you. I mean,
Yeah, it's like
that's
the
just
Jetsons.
common science. I mean,
Same as the Jetsons.
Andy, we'll swing to you. Anything you want to touch on? Dislikes?
Yeah, the one thing that I could not stand the most in this movie was the last 10 seconds of the movie. I fucking hated like oh, everything's great. Hey, there's a monster. This is my destiny. And all of a sudden the movie ends and you're like, what the fuck is that? I couldn't
That was
stand
Never
that.
get a,
for
it's
a
like the
sequel.
Mario Brothers ending. You will never get a sequel to see what happens next.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, Jesus. Like, what the hell was that? That was terrible.
Like it's an animated kids movie in 2009. We'll get a sequel out of this, right? We got a little bit of a franchise. We'll get home direct to video, maybe. Who knows what'll be coming up? Well, yeah.
we
We'll
put
leave it
$65
open-ended
million
ending.
into this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It was cheap.
Astro Boy's been a thing for 65 years. We couldn't kill it.
aside from that, I wanted more Zog. I feel like we didn't get
Yep.
full Zog, and I wanted more Zog. I liked Zog. Zog was cool. Yeah, I think those are the two big things that I had that were I would have preferred something else,
Yeah.
I guess.
Josh, should we hit you again? Anything left to talk about?
Yeah, I got a couple. I guess I had written down the same where did the memories come from hair relationship question that was asked before. That didn't make sense to me. So the Neverland gang, you have this group of kids, but like something that I actually think could have possibly improved the story is even just a minute of kind of explaining what the rest of even the immediate society around where this is taking place on the surface is like, because you have like 10 kids of like age 12 to 13 and under in the care of this adult who are all orphans who apparently just were discarded, I guess, by their parents. We don't know if the parents have died. We don't really know what like the rest of living is like down there. So I wrote like, is this just how the surface is? Does every generation grow up to eventually reproduce and then just abandon their children at age 5? Like, has it been that way? Are they just all deadbeat parents? Like, it didn't kind of make sense, but I think that actually could have helped understand the predicament that the group we focus on was in. Like, is
Right.
that exceptional or not?
Yeah.
It would help me feel for them more if I'm supposed to.
So Josh brings that up. Now I have a very important question. Was that pizza from Mega City or from the planet?
Now that we're saying it, I guess maybe the city that was thrown off and stayed in the boxes somehow. Otherwise, there's like working pizzerias.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
Yeah.
With
there's a functional
the
society
ability
down
to make
the road,
cardboard delivery boxes.
right?
Well, the gladiator thing was on the planet's surface, right? That wasn't like
Yeah.
in the.
That was on the surface.
Yeah. So there's obviously other shit going on the
Yeah,
surface.
and there was a crowd in the Colosseum and all that. So it just felt strange to kind of acknowledge that there is some semblance of civilization there, but not really like under. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
Wonder if it was a critique on our lack of safety social nets.
Probably not entirely, because they just didn't. They kind of shit the bed on some things here.
Well, this is the whole like, do you want to view it as a kids movie or a movie movie?
Okay. So, well, I mean, even for the kids though, I think it would have. I think a couple things may have been. There's a way to be a children's movie per se, and still be good at what you do, and and help the kids understand the story better. And I think there's some gaps that they left that would have enhanced what they presented to those kids more.
What's
And
I'm
this is one of those
just thinking
small
like
things.
anyone under 10 isn't going to care what the society is like on the surface.
They're not going to care, but I think if you had put it in, it could have enhanced it and it could have improved it without having to go that next step of like, yeah, look, it's a kids movie. It still could have stayed as a kids movie,
Right.
but better.
Okay.
So the point that I think Ian brought up before, maybe it was Ian, about Korra reuniting with her parents at the end, or whoever did. So, what the hell was that? All she tells them is that she was from the city. Doesn't mention how she got separated, why she's not there, how she got there, how old she was, how long she's been there, nothing. Has it been, so she's around Astro's age. She's like 12, 13, maybe 14. Has she been there for 2 months? Has she been there for 9 years? She meets up with her parents, and all you get is, we've looked for you for so long. Really? All's forgiven.
Yep.
All is understood and forgiven and moving on. That is it. That's all we need. What in the hell is that?
That was the
That's
sequel.
Yeah.
The
That's
sequel was
your-
going to explore that relationship.
That's
Oh,
your D
bullshit, it will. No
storyline for
way.
the movie. It's just way relegated to the back of the movie. No one cares about that story.
I
It's
guess
it's
maybe
the simplest setup and payoff that you have on any of the
Yes.
storylines going on.
Yes, I will give you that. Somebody wrote somewhere that she's an orphan, and there was going to be an ending in which people from the city were being reunited and joining the surface again. So therefore, don't leave that open ended. Put them back together, and yay, we're all happy. It was so strange. I guess that's all I have for negatives per se. I have another couple of the points that just don't really fall anywhere. They're just random thoughts. If we want to come back to that, or I can hit them now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I said right from the beginning, because I had, I knew sort of as I was getting into it that Nicolas Cage was part of the voice cast and whatnot. And as soon as he starts speaking towards the beginning, I'm like, oh, okay, here's Nick Cage. My very first point I wrote down, Nicolas Cage is totally and undeniably believable as a robotic engineer / astrophysicist / genetic bioengineer. I had no moment of disbelief in that whatsoever. Said later on during the experiment accident, the demonstration accident, I wrote, because I didn't quite understand if this is what we were supposed to be, like we were being told, I wrote, so his son got straight up murdered? Which appears to just be the case.
Yeah.
He just dematerialized and was sort of vanquished from molecular existence.
Technically speaking, by the president.
Yeah.
That's why it wasn't a crime.
Yeah, we all know that. Presidents can't commit crimes. That's the thing.
I think the lab was called Fifth Avenue. Yeah, I wrote down. Oh, okay. So Nick Cage turns out to be a huge asshole when he disowns his son that he, created a new sentient being, only to say, I don't really want you anymore. You're not what I hoped you would be.
It's
Goodbye.
like my father.
Goodbye. Goodbye. 13-year-old dead robot son. Later on. Oh, I said, well, I had written this down and then it didn't exactly play out entirely. I wrote this down at the moment where I think it's where it's where he reboots Zog and Nathan Lane is working with the other robot at his place and he's like giving him the pointers and whatnot about the boxing and everything. And then Zog just like steps on him and kills him. Well, you think he kills him. But I wrote, there's a lot of robot murder that happens. I mean, even that's kind of true. There's not as much robot murder that continues after that as I thought would, but there's a fair amount of robot murder in this.
Well, when Zog stepped on that robot lived through it. Remember, he crawls away,
Right.
he does the Looney Tunes thing.
Right, and he's
Couple Looney Tunes moments in this.
he's relegated forever because I guess they're not going to fix him or change or whatever to this
Don't
thing
need
that
to now.
Elevates 3 inches off of the ground and just scoots around in a horrid existence. Yep. Okay, that's them all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up for me, I think I sort of mentioned, like, the story was mediocre. I felt like it was, simple, unsurprising, so it's very middle of the road for me. And I don't know, Ian, I don't know, like, much about the source material. I don't know how much you know, but I don't know, like, this movie, I guess, was set up as the origin story, and then there's supposed to be, I'm assuming maybe they wanted to make more movies. I kind of would have liked to see where they went from here and seen what they did with the character, but I don't really know anything about the comics or the anime to know if there's more to this character that we didn't see that would have been cool to see. Do you know anything about than what we've seen in the movie?
Not like in the general sense. It's more of like a thing of the week, like Power Rangers kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, here's a new thing for Astro Boy to solve. Like, he ends up... I like the original telling has a much better origin story. Instead of falling to a planet and doing the Lord of the Flies shit, he ends up in a robot circus. And that's where he meets Pickle Dick Doctor at the robot circus.
Okay.
And then when he recruits him, he's like, oh, you're that dude's son, Tobias Kun. And that's when he recruits him. He's like, oh, we can do so many great things with the world. Let's leave the robot circus and go fix the world. And that's what they decide to do. To go out in the world and show that robots aren't slaves, but equal beings to humans. That's actually in the original.
Okay. Yeah, I think I actually like that better.
Yeah, that
to be
sounds
honest.
like a movie I would watch.
Think about the robot circus. That would have been a lot cooler than the Roman-esque gladiator shit.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just spin around. Does anybody? Well, last call, I guess, for anything to add to the movie. Otherwise, we'll do some ratings.
That was Astro Boy fact number 9.
I just have a question about the ratings. Are we going to officially rate this as just a movie or as a children's movie? Because I feel like we should clarify, because I give it 2 different ratings based on which I'm looking at.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I gave it a number, and now I'm trying to figure out like where I sort of. I think I probably just rated it as a movie.
Okay, as a movie then.
At least my preference, I guess. If
no, I'm fine with either. I just want to know, so I give you the correct answer.
Or what the hell? Just give us both. Okay, yeah. Well, if you.
Well, I don't want to piss off
Ian
too much about the difference between it and Venom. Because if I rate it
it's
as a
actually
children's movie,
really about Bloodshot.
I'm sure we all will.
Yeah, everything has to be on the Bloodshot scale now.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
even
a
remember
very
what I gave
important scale.
Bloodshot, but okay.
I know what you gave it.
All right. Andy, rating for the movie. What would you give it out of 10?
I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Josh?
My last... I'm going to just sort of stick where I've been. I think this is getting a 4.
Okay. Mike?
As a movie, 4.
Okay.
As a children's movie, I give it a 7.
Okay. Ian, do you want to go next, or do you want me to save you for last?
6.3 out of 10.
Okay. Are we doing movie scale or children's movie scale?
Or
We're doing scale. We're doing scales because it had a lot of kick-ass explosions. It upset me with the King Kong reference because King Kong's a shit character. But once again, it had a lot of cool explosions, and it kept true to that allegory of robots are slaves, and we should treat them poorly.
Fair enough. Yeah, this was again middle of the road for me, so I'm going 4.5. All right, so that's where we're gonna end Astro Boy, and now is the time when we spin the wheel to decide what we are doing next. So, just as a reminder, carrying over from the previous wheels, we still have two franchises on the board: Swamp Thing and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The 3 standalone movies that are carried over: Constantine, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, and Cowboys and Aliens. Our newest addition to the wheel that takes Astro Boy's spot, which we decided before we recorded, is Watchmen. So I am going to queue up the wheel for these guys, which I have to share my screen so they
Yay,
can
the
see all the
wheel.
shit.
It's not there yet, but I'm still happy.
The
I would say
wheel.
so far that we've put a wheel composition together that I'm not big on Valerian, but I don't really dislike anything on it right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still
I'm
have not
okay with
seen
anything it lands
Valerian,
on.
so I'm okay with this.
What was that, Mike?
I'm okay with anything it lands on here.
Mm-hmm.
No, not
Ye-
Cowboys and Aliens.
You know
Really?
what? That's kind of fair. That's only. I mean, that would be the last on the list. I've
I
never
think
watched
that one
the
deserves
Swamp
a
Thing
rewatch.
movie.
I've only
But-
seen Cowboys and Aliens once. I would like to
Same.
watch it again, so this
Mhm.
will give me an excuse to do that.
I
Fair
would like
enough.
to never watch it.
Well,
All right, you guys ready? You
Let's
can
do it.
see the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
All right.
Fate.
Spinning the wheel.
I like that
Round,
Josh's make
round it
noise.
goes. That what?
Do the Josh's wheel makes noise. I hear the click, click,
Yeah.
click, 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 click.
the sound
Oh,
effect
I
helps.
apparently
Click,
forgot
click,
to
click,
do the
click,
sound.
click,
I forgot
click,
to bring the sound over.
click,
That's
click.
on me.
Click.
Yes.
All right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's a good one.
So
I thought Ian was going to get his wish. It was very close.
I did too, but
It
this
was
is our
close.
first series.
so can I get
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, first franchise.
some specifics on this? All of them, or what's?
This is
well,
the
this is
first
what
one.
we're doing
Yeah,
it
you
one
have
movie at a
2
time.
weeks to-
So we're going to start with the first Ninja Turtles movie, which will be the first live action from 1990.
Right.
And then the Turtles are going to stay on the wheel. So we're basically going to spin the same wheel next time. And if Turtles hits again, then we watch Secret of the Ooze.
Okay.
So
So
we
they
figured,
stay on the wheel until they complete,
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
even if it's the MCU that ends up on there.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just so that when we hit the MCU, we're not doing 26 movies of MCU. We're going to spice it up
In a
and
row,
still get a
yeah.
variety in there.
Oh no! I thought you were gonna like let a series get hit on the wheel, and then take it off until it got spun back onto the wheel.
Well, the only thing with that
Oh,
is like
wow.
my reasoning is that if it leaves the wheel, who knows when the fuck it's going to come back. So
Right.
then if it's 3 years since we've watched the movie, which still could happen, but at least it gives us a better chance to try to continue what we've started
Okay.
instead of
that's
just have like 10
Yeah,
different
at least it always
franchises that
has a
are all
1 out of
started but
6
never
chance.
finished.
fair. That's fine.
So that's the general thought process, I guess there.
The important
For
thing
that.
is just to make sure the MCU never gets on here.
All right, so I think I'm satisfied with that. So
Very.
Yeah.
because this is one I know I've
Who doesn't
seen
like the turtles?
probably in the last 10 years. Like I think the last time I watched it, probably Josh, was that time we went to the Oaks and saw it. I think it was the double billing with that and
That
Batman.
Yeah. And that was probably 6-7 years ago.
Yeah,
It's been a minute.
For me, it's
Yeah.
about 2 years. The Oaks did a Ninja Turtles pizza night, actually, about 2 years ago.
okay, yeah.
So where one
Nice.
ticket got you all the pizza you could eat, and they put the turtles on.
I'm very curious to see if this actually holds up.
I feel like I remember it did, but
I-
again,
I
that was
honestly
years
think it
ago.
does.
So
All these years later, I think this first one still really holds up.
I think it's a movie that like you get as a kid. You're like, okay, it's Turtles. It's in a movie. But I think as an adult, you appreciate this movie a lot more and what it's trying to do.
Yeah. This was when I've been looking forward to talking about for a while. This is great.
But I think at the same time, I don't know if any of the jokes still land.
Yeah, that's we're gonna see if it's real
Okay.
dated as far
Yeah.
as that is concerned.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if the jokes landed back in the 90s, like when you're not a kid. Like, I don't think the jokes make sense in any context.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the first one was a lot darker than anything they did
Yeah.
after that. So
That's why it's
I'm
so
trying to
good.
remember if it's actually trying to be funny.
There's
There are
definitely
times.
comedic moments, but it's not. I don't think it's not meant to be like necessarily
they-
a comedy or a kids.
I mean,
movie per se.
I
They
know,
tell
I know
a
the
joke
term,
more than once.
I know the term Broadzilla pops up at some point.
Yep.
So that's in there. It's a thing.
All right, well, we know what to look forward to next time. Last plug. You guys got anything else you wanna put in here before we do my spiel at the end here? Mike, anything you want to plug for Twitch? Nothing else?
I'm streaming on Twitch again.
What are you doing this month?
Yeah, I didn't know if you had any other
Right,
games
well,
that you have
I mean,
scheduled
I'm
on tap
doing-
or anything.
A lot of horror games, but we're also Fridays are going to be Fallout Fridays. So starting this Friday with New Vegas.
Oh, you're not going all the way back? Back.
No, I'm doing ones that I haven't played. The last one I played was 3.
Oh, I meant 1.
No. I'm saying like I'm picking up where I left off, kind of years
Okay,
ago.
gotcha.
So I'm going to do New Vegas starting this Friday. Tomorrow,
modding
which
it up?
by the time this is out, people won't know that, but tomorrow night I'm going
Yeah,
to
that's
play
true.
a game called Dark Fracture Prologue and a game called Sweet 776. Both horror games, both short. Basically free games. I think I spent $4 combined on the two of them. So
Okay.
they're, you know.
When you play
Well, if you
Five
spend
Nights at
$4,
Freddy's-
they're not free.
I'm sorry, what was that? Well, one of them was free. One of them was $4, I think. I can't remember which, though. What'd you say, Ian?
When are you playing Five Nights at Freddy's?
I did not have that one planned, but I also don't have most of the month planned at this point.
That's the streamer horror game from
Yeah, from years ago.
yeah.
They did
I'm sure
announce a
people
new
still play
sequel,
it.
though, didn't they?
They've already got like 6 of them, so sure.
Yeah, I
probably.
think that like just recently they announced another one's coming out. I mean, I've never even played one of them, so
hmm
my plan is kind of like Bloodborne, Last of Us 2, and then maybe Alien Isolation at some point as well.
Okay.
Is
Well-
Bloodborne a horror thing?
Yes, vampires, werewolves, Lovecraftian creatures.
Body
Oh, okay.
horror.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did not
Body
know that.
horror.
Yes, body horror.
All right, yeah. So keep an eye out for rare achievements on Twitch.
Yeah.
And if you've enjoyed us, show us some support. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to give us a share on social media. You can follow or subscribe. Keep up with the show. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, Stitcher. You can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and Super Friends or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions there. You can find us on Twitter at BG Super Friends. You can try to email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. I won't check it. It's there just to have a placeholder. And also, I guess you can find me on Twitch also, Jedi Bry Guy. That's where we did the live show. At some point, we will probably do other live shows that will end up there, so we'll keep you posted on that. But if you want to follow in the meantime, that's where I'm at.
Hey, Brian,
And-
one quick last note, since we actually
Yeah.
mentioned it again on that Twitch broadcast last time. We had brought up our Fast and Furious horror movie Pact again.
Yes.
And I know this episode people will probably be hearing it after part 2 of the 200th, and so
Correct.
it's gonna be a little bit down the road. But just so listeners know, within a couple days of us recording what you're listening to right now, Brian and I will be sitting down to watch and record episodes for our next Fast and Furious challenge and Cabin in the Woods.
The movie
And
kicks ass.
hopefully we can get Cabin in the Woods out by like the end of the month for Halloween if we can make the timing. But
Yeah.
that is finally coming soon. So
my
keep an eye out.
my plan was just to hit sometime in October, since we're doing it. I'll do the part 2 next. We'll do this episode after that.
Mhm.
After this episode will probably be Cabin in the Woods,
Nice.
just so I can try to get it out in October.
Sure.
And then Fast and Furious will go in the bag. We'll if I have an off week or something, at least that'll be done and ready to go at some point. So you'll hear that eventually. But
Yeah.
the next 3 probably will be 200 Part 2, which you've at this point already heard. This one, our Rewind Theater for Astro Boy, and then Cabin in the Woods is what I have sort of planned out.
Did
And
you
then
say
Date-wise,
which
I don't know, but
fast
that's what's coming.
this is
What's
going
that?
to be? Did you say which fast this was going to be?
Fast 5.
5.
It's the best one.
My plan for Josh, and I've mentioned it before,
Not entirely wrong.
I'm trying to get the highlights of Fast and the Furious because I know he's not going to care if we try to do all 8. So I'm trying to hit the highlights, which to me is 1, 4, 5, 6. If we want to watch more than that, or if there's something else we can agree on after that, then we'll try to do 7 and 8. 2 and 3 are by far the worst in my opinion.
What about Hobbs and Shaw?
If we want to go that far, I guess that is also an option, but that one is also terrible.
It depends on what I can get Brian to agree to watch.
That's the deciding factor.
It's a trade-off.
How much?
Yes.
How dark am I willing to go down this hole to watch horror stuff?
He's taking it really light on you so far.
And
which is
we're
fair.
trying to pick
Yeah.
like actual like enjoyable quality stuff, things that might still have elements that aren't really his bag, but are good.
You should totally throw him
Good
in with the Last
selections
House on
from
the
the
Left
genre
original
anyway.
movie. The original Last House on the Left. That's what.
Oh God, no.
Throw Brian in with that one next.
No, I value.
You
him
have to
as a
watch Tokyo
friend,
Drift.
too, so I don't.
He has to watch Last House on the Left. It's an equal trade.
That's the thing. I'm not putting Tokyo Drift on the list. So if we can avoid, if we're trying to save each other here.
I don't know if I want to watch Last House on the Left again. So.
Oh no, I never need to see that again.
But no, it looks like we got a good slate coming over the next couple episodes.
Yeah, and somewhere in there, either probably before Fast 5, we will fit in Ninja Turtles. So that will probably be the next 4-ish.
Yeah.
Unless something major happens in the next, month and a half, because that'll probably be the time limit somewhere if we're doing it. Well, I guess if we're doing it weekly, maybe the next 4 weeks. So the next month-ish. I don't know if something's going to pop up worth talking about news-wise. I know there's probably some stuff we could make a news episode for. I think there's a couple highlights to do.
I mean,
that are
most
worth
of it's
talking
all
about,
just
but
movies being pushed back further and further.
a lot
and
of
further.
it. Yeah. But I mean, like, there's some Disney Plus stuff that they've shown and talked about that is worth talking about, I think, at some point. But, yeah, so, we'll see. Some of it's up in the air. But that, for me, that's probably the next string of episodes that I know we're going to do. Everything else might be spur of the moment. Yeah, so that's it for us. On behalf of Ian, Josh, Mike, Andy, and myself, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Onward and upward, Simple Nation.